Hi, my name is Tiffany Hunt. I am a faculty member in the College of Education in the Special Education program. What are the main goals of special education? The main goals of special education are to ensure education to individuals with disabilities, specifically a free, appropriate public education, which essentially means an individualized program to support the unique needs of individuals with disabilities and ensure that they are making progress towards their academic, behavioral, and functional goals. What is the history of special education programming? So the history of special education programming actually starts with the inception of public education and students starting to attend public school. Unfortunately, students with disabilities were not necessarily included in public school for a very long period of time in our history. Students with disabilities could be removed from schools, and they could also be refused access to schools. Parents also had very little rights when it came to educating their children with disabilities. So if a school were to refuse service to a student with a disability, parents often had no due process, any type of right to actually fight that decision. In fact, some states even wrote laws that would prevent parents from fighting decisions of removal or refusal to serve students with disabilities. With advocacy, though, with parents coming together and really advocating for their children with disabilities and the disability community itself, there was a huge movement forward in the disability community with the All Handicapped Children Act, which was passed in 1975. This law is now known as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 2004. Essentially, this law provided access to students with disabilities, ensuring they were provided a free, appropriate public education. It also gave rights to parents. So in the event that they disagreed with team decisions or ways in which that their child was being educated, they had due process rights and they had a way to seek support and help with those disagreements. How do teachers support students with diverse learning needs? There are several ways that teachers support students with disabilities in the classroom. We have special education teachers who are trained to provide specialized instruction to students with disabilities. That often looks like one-on-one instruction or small group direct instruction. It is really targeted to the unique needs of each student and particular skill gaps that we have determined that a student has. Additionally, in the general education classroom, students with disabilities are also supported through accommodations, modifications, various supports, so that they can access their general education curriculum and advance with their general education peers. What are some challenges in special education? Meeting the unique needs of all students with disabilities, ensuring that they are benefiting from their education, while we progress monitor students to ensure that there is growth. Sometimes there's not growth and we have to change and we have to look for new ideas and new strategies and potentially add some additional services to their program. It can also be challenging because we work with a whole bunch of people in the school setting. So we're working with related service providers, which might include speech-language pathologists and occupational therapists and physical therapists. We work with general education teachers, and we work with administrators, and we work with parents and families, and sometimes coordinating and connecting with all of those individuals to make sure we're all on the same page can sometimes be a challenge. Those same challenges make this profession really, really rewarding and enjoyable when you are able to find that instructional strategy that works for a student and you see that growth. It is the most incredible moment of all time when you are able to work with families and support them and you're able to connect with all these professionals in your building and really put together a program that will support students with disabilities in their academic and social, emotional, and functional areas of need. That's a huge, huge feat, and it's really exciting. It's the best feeling of all time and the best job, I think, of all time. Why did you study special education? Originally, I was an elementary education major, and so for my student teaching, I was in a general education classroom. It just so happened that my mentor teacher at the time had always taught gifted education. So all the students in her classroom were gifted and talented and really excelling far beyond what typical students were doing. That year, however, when she brought me into her classroom, they changed things up at the school, and she had a diverse classroom with all varying needs, including students with disabilities. Because of that, she really didn't have those tools that she needed to support students with disabilities, and having two teachers in the classroom, although I was only a student teacher at the time, but she was able to utilize my services in supporting some of those students in giving one-on-one instruction and supports in the general education setting. It was during those times that I found that that was actually my passion. I loved teaching all of the students, and that was really wonderful, but that one-on-one small group, really connecting with kids and seeing growth in students that maybe struggle more, really spoke to me. And I absolutely was passionate about special education ever since that moment, and immediately jumped into my master's degree and continued on because I absolutely love this field. How does the University of Wyoming support special education students and teachers? Our program provides the training and background knowledge to support students in becoming highly qualified special education teachers. So we have two programs at the University of Wyoming. One is an undergrad program. It's a dual major in elementary and special education. Additionally, we like to say that special education practices are really best practices. So anything that you might utilize for a student with a disability that's individualized and supportive oftentimes supports our students that do not have disabilities as well. The benefit of the dual major is that you learn that general education piece as well, which I think makes you a more robust special education teacher because you understand the role of the general educator and you also understand curriculum. But then we give you the training needed, again, to be a highly qualified special education teacher all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade. Our master's program is specific to special education. It also results in a license K through 12. And both of the programs will support students in becoming special education teachers for all students with disabilities. So under the IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, there are 13 disability categories, and students in our program are trained and supported in learning ways to support all of those categories. So no matter what special education student comes in the door, our students are able to provide instruction and support to them. An additional way that we support teachers in the field is that we have a mentoring program, the Wyoming Teacher Mentor Corps, and while it's not specific to special education teachers are welcome to join, and that gives them a lot of support in learning how to be a mentor so that they can mentor new teachers, be it special education, general education, or any other educator. One additional piece in our undergraduate program that's super exciting is that we have the Prepare program, which is a pre-service preparation advanced residency experience. It essentially provides a year-long residency for dual majors in special education and elementary education, whereas typically student teaching or residency is only one semester and lasts 16 weeks. In the Prepare program, however, when students enter their methods courses, which are the courses you would take right before you student teach, those students take those methods courses online, and then they are placed in the buildings where they will student teach. They are connected with their mentor teachers and the students with which they'll work with, and they essentially serve as paraprofessionals. So they are paid during that semester. They get to see the very first day of school, they get to be there from the very jump and get to see that entire first semester as a paraprofessional, working with their mentor, working with other colleagues in the building, working with students, connecting with families, and then they transition into student teaching that following semester. That transition to student teaching is generally really smooth because they already know their students, they know the curriculum, they've been there for an entire semester, and they're already part of that school. So when they student teach, where typical student teachers will have kind of an easing into teaching because they have to learn the school and learn the curriculum and do some observations. Prepare students oftentimes are teaching on day one, so they get 16 full weeks of teaching. What is the best part of teaching special education? Well, I will say that I am very biased, but I fully believe that this is the best position of education and probably of any position that you could have, any career that you could have. The ability to connect with students in ways that not everyone is able to do, the ability to see them grow and advance, the challenge that they bring, because it's not always easy, right? There's a lot of challenge. And to be able to look from the beginning of a year to the end of the year and say, oh my gosh, this was happening at the beginning, but now look at where we are at the end, is the most amazing feeling of all time. And I will say I still have relationships with a lot of my students with disabilities. They still contact me today, and that's because we're so connected, and I got to help them through some of the most difficult times in their lives, and they're thriving and doing amazing today. So I absolutely love this profession, and I think it is the best. How is the field of special education evolving? Well, I will say that sometimes it feels like it's not evolving because the most recent law that we have in place for special education is IDEA 2004, so the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 2004, which does seem like quite a long time ago at this point. That said, we do continue to evolve as a field. We have moved more and more towards inclusion. That's always the aim, but we find unique and beneficial ways to include students with disabilities in the general education classroom more and more often. We have assistive technology that has made things far more accessible for students with disabilities and have provided opportunities that we've never had in the past. And again, improved our ability to support students in that general education classroom, because we know that students with disabilities benefit the most when they're with their non-disabled peers and when they're able to access the general education curriculum with their fellow classmates. I would also say that the field continues to evolve with case law and complaints and due process, so we essentially learn from anytime there's disagreements with parents and school districts. We learn from those things and we progress, and we pay particular attention to cases that get to circuit courts and even the Supreme Court, because that, again, really informs our practice. So while the law hasn't changed necessarily, our interpretation of the law and our understanding of how to implement that law continues to evolve.